What's up, everyone? Connor Chapman here. Welcome to Racers Insight and the preview for the 2023 Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. This race is the first official event of the Major League Racing season and is like kicking off, no pun intended, with the Super Bowl of racing. The race will feature a field of 61 cars across 4 different categories in GTP, LMP2, LMP3, and GTD. New for 23, we have the long-awaited 9 brand new LMDH cars and the recently reinstated GTP category. They're going to be battling in anger for the first time on track, and I am so excited to see it. We also got 2 brand new GTD cars from Porsche and Ferrari, and an absolutely all-star cast of drivers up and down the field. So without further ado, let's get into some track stats. With the first 24-hour race being held in 1966, that race saw Ken Miles and Lloyd Ruby take the win in their Ford Mark II. The current sports car course, in use since 1985, has a length of 3.56 miles or 5.729 kilometers. This course has a total number of 12 turns, and look for big overtaking opportunities at turn 1 heading into the infield road course and coming off the long straight going into turns 8 and 9, which is the newly renamed Le Mans bus stop chicane. Racing time is, of course, 24 hours, which saw a total number of 761 laps last year, with the race lap record being set by Alex Palou in the Cadillac DPI with a time of 1 minute 33.724. Although worth noting, that car would only finish 14th overall. Now moving on to some Daytona 24 stats. With 60 races held so far, the drivers with the most wins are Hurley Haywood and Scott Pruitt, both having 5 wins to their names. And out of the field of current active drivers, that title goes to Scott Dixon with 3 wins to his name, and the most recent win coming in 2020 with Wayne Taylor Racing in the Konica Minolta DPI Cadillac. With a win this weekend, he would break into the prestigious 4-win group. That's a group that hasn't been broken into since 1991, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Now, most manufacturer wins goes to Porsche and will be for quite some time. With 18 wins, Porsche has been absolutely dominant throughout the years. And with the team back this year, coupled to racing powerhouse Penske, we very well can see that tally increase. So, to understand your future, you must look to the past. And in racing, the more immediate, the better. So, let's now take a look at some stats from the race last year. Pole position last year was won in a sprint race by Ricky Taylor and Felipe Albuquerque in the number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Acura, but would lose out to current pole sitters number 60 Meyershank Racing Acura, driven by Oliver Jarvis, Tom Bloomquist, Helio Castroneves, and Simon Pagenaud. And with that win, that makes it twice in as many years Meyershank has won, and Acura is looking in prime position to keep that team striking while the iron's hot. The number 10 Wayne Taylor Acura would make it to the podium in second, with the number 5 Cadillac rounding out the podium. Talking DNFs, there were a total of 18 DNFs across the entire field, so this race is no stranger to attrition. And with that comes a lot of yellow flags, so loads of opportunities for these teams to act on a dime and change up their strategy during the race. Next, we're going to take a look at the weather forecast this weekend, and it's looking like we're going to have a beautiful day Saturday. Partly cloudy with a high of 67 and only 2% chance of rain, so plenty of dry track running. However, with Florida being in a tropical region, there always is that chance weather can turn on a dime, but as of time of recording, all is looking clear. Now, there is a factor worth noting, and that being wind, with it being reported at 9 miles per hour with potential gusts up to 18. And we've seen what kind of trouble that can cause cars going into the bus stop chicane, so keep an eye on that all throughout the race. Into the night, temps will drop into the high 50s with gusts reporting possibly at 9 miles per hour. So to a lesser extent, but still a factor. And going into Sunday, we're seeing a reportedly delightful, partly cloudy 75, but again, wind gusts possibly as high as 17 miles per hour. And rolling on, it's time to go over our starting grid for this Saturday's Rolex 24. So I'm just going to roll through these and I'm going to give my class insights at the end of each class. So starting with GTP on pole position, we got the number 60 Meyershank Racing with Curb Aganjianian, butchered that, Acura ARX 06 with a blistering final lap effort of 1 minute 34.03. That car is going to be piloted by Tom Blomqvist, Colin Braun, Helio Castroneves, and Simon Pagenaud. Next to him on the grid, and keeping that car true, in P2, we got the number 7 Porsche Penske Motorsport Porsche 963 machine. That car got a time of 134.114. It's going to be piloted by Matt Campbell, Felipe Nasr, and Michael Christensen. On the second row of the grid, in P3, we got the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura ARX 06. Of course, that machine is the Wayne Taylor effort. That got a time of 134.198. Within that 10th, just within that 10th of a second of the top three. So a super fast car here too. That car is piloted by Felipe Albuquerque, Ricky Taylor, Louis Delatraz, and Brendan Hartley. And next to him, the first of the gaggle of Cadillacs here in P4, we got the number 1 Cadillac Racing Cadillac VLMDH. That car got a time of 134.262, super close to the Acuras. That car is going to be piloted by Sebastian Bourdais, Renger van der Zand, and Scott Dixon. Notably, and we'll go over this more extensively, 2 awesome, to say the least, IndyCar pilots in that car. In P5, we got the blue Cadillac, the number 2 machine. That car got a time of 134.389. That car is going to be piloted by Earl Bamber, Alex Lynn, and Richard Westbrook. And in P6, we got the Wheelan Engineering machine, the number 31 Cadillac. That car got a time of 134.608. That car again is coming back with Pippo Durrani, Alexander Sims, and new for the Rolex 24, Jack Aiken, who's seen a berth in Formula One, and we'll go over that a little more in the insights. So moving on, we got the BMWs lining up, the number 24 machine on P7. That car got a time of 134.723. That car is going to be piloted by Philip Eng, Augusto Farfus, Marco Whitman, and Colton Herta. And next to that car is the sister effort from BMW, Rahal Letterman Lanigan, the number 25 machine. That car got a time of 134.846. That car is going to be piloted by Connor De Felipe, Nick Yellowly, Sheldon Vanderland, and pulling double effort in this car also is going to be Colton Herta. And then at the last slot on the GTP grid, we have in P9 the number 6 Porsche Penske Motorsport Porsche 963 machine. After that shunt in qualifying, that's going to see them again starting P9. That car is piloted by Matthew Jaminet, Nick Tandy, and Dan Cameron. Okay, now moving on to our GTP insights with our pole sitters. That team having Helio Castroneves and Simon Pagenaud, two Indy 500 winners and absolute IndyCar legends, coming back in that team. They know how to win a Rolex. And that keeps that continuity in that team. Definitely something that was super positive for them. Two strong drivers there. We got Tom Blomqvist coming back. He's the guy that got the car on pole. Super fast young driver. And now he's been paired with three-time series champion and three-time Rolex Class 24 champion Colin Braun. So that's one hell of a kicker on that team. This car is fast, obviously, and that team is stacked with star power. So definitely keep an eye on that. They're looking to convert that pole to a win. Moving on with the Acuras, we're going to talk about Wayne Taylor coming back in that car. We got, of course, Felipe Albuquerque and Ricky Taylor. Both guys have a Rolex to their name. They're two-time Rolex 24 winners. And then we got added Brendan Hartley, ex-Formula One driver. If you had watched that series, he drove for Toro Rosso, but he's truly making his name in endurance racing as of late with, I want to say, 4 Le Mans victories. Let me double check that real quick. Is it 4? Let's see. 3. Excuse me. He's got 3 still. One hell of a stat with Toyota Gazoo Racing. So this is going to be his 6th Rolex 24 start. Still looking for that overall Rolex win, but trusted hands in Brendan Hartley, knows his way around an endurance racing machine. So again, a super strong pairing. And to not just gloss over, we also have Delatraz in that car. He is a back-to-back prototype winner in Le Mans Prototype 2. And he's got a pair of WeatherTech Championship LMP2 wins from last year. So he's hot. He's got momentum. A lot of power in that blue Acura as well. So check them out and be on the lookout for that team. Staying with the Acura, we're gonna also give an insight on the car itself, and that specifically being the brand new V6 power plant in the back of that Acura. That motor is 100% brand new. Of course, it's built off of what they've already known. Of course, Honda has such a pedigree, and more specifically in North America, HPD, with creating intensely competitive motors, being one of 2 manufacturers in IndyCar. So it's not like they're completely starting from scratch. But it is worth noting that motor is bespoke. It is 100% brand new. So keep in mind, we're watching out for reliability with the Acuras. Moving on to my Porsche insights, Porsche Penske. Oh man, what's not to say about these guys? We got 2 absolute powerhouses latched on together for this year moving forward. Of course, Porsche with their all-time winning pedigree around the Rolex 24, with 18 overall wins throughout the years, and Penske, North American racing titans. So undeniable force here. I think it's worth noting too, Penske hasn't won overall in the Rolex since 1969. So that was kind of shocking to me. I thought they at least got one when they were partnered with Acura at that time, but I guess not. So they're looking to change that stat to get that up to stuff, so to say, with the rest of their amazing stellar pedigree. Specifically talking now about the cars, and the number 6 Porsche Porsche, we got Tandy. He is a Le Mans overall winner back when the Porsche was running with the 919, that record-breaking car. He's looking to bounce back from that quali shunt and, of course, put that far behind him and move up the field in that number 6 car. Plus, with that car, it's notable that we got Dan Cameron. He's a 3-time IMSA champ in 3 different classes. He's looking to finally add a Rolex to his name. So a lot to look for with that number 6 car. Moving to that number 7 car, notably Campbell and Nazar, they both got GTD Pro wins at last year's Rolex 24. They're looking for that overall Rolex win with Porsche. And notably Nasser, he's being one of the absolute best drivers of the DPI era. He's got 2 championships to his name, so looking to now make his mark on GTP. So the vibe I get from Porsche Penske is experience. From the manufacturer, from the team, and to the drivers. These are guys that are full-blooded racers. You haven't seen them maybe on other types of theatrical programs, not knocking Helio, right? Not knocking some of these superstar guys, which is just awesome in its own right. But these guys, the vibe I get is just through and through racers, veterans of the sport. And we're looking at a coming together of a lot of deep pedigree here. So really notable, and that is really notable. And, that's why we all need to keep an eye on this Porsche Penske team. And speaking on the car itself, my first impression of the car is, okay, these aerodynamics aren't as, out there and just, tuner boy as, of course, the Acura. It looks more dialed. It looks more measured. It looks, not quite as extreme. And some of the guys in IMSA, they talk about it like, in terms of a long race, there's less parts to fall off. There's less things to knock around. And still getting that ultimate pace within 0.08 of a second of the Acura. A lot of the top level commentators on IMSA, they talk about it like it looks like a real 24-hour, streamliner. Like it's just gonna hold up, right? And it kind of funny and worth noting is, after I heard him say that, the shunt did happen. So the wind caught the back of the car and it went into the barrier. So but we're not going to reflect too highly on that. This is racing; things like that happen. But it is, in my mind, you can tell with the Porsche, it has a little bit more of a utilitarian look about it. From what I've seen, the car looks super stable. Looks like a joy to drive. So excited to see how it does in this 24-hour race. Next, looking at Cadillac, Chip Ganassi's back at the Rolex 24 with his number 1 and his number 2 machine. This car is used to winning. It's won 8 and 3 straight from 2006 to 2008. Look, this car's got 2 heavy hitters in Sebastian Bourdais and Scott Dixon. These guys got 10 IndyCar championships to their name. So 10 championships in the top level open wheel in North America in that car alone. The car sounds absolutely disgusting. Amazing tone coming from that vehicle. The biggest displacement car in GTP with a over 5-liter V8 motor paired up to the homologated Williams hybrid system. Let's just say that. Okay, so a lot of star power in that Cadillac, a lot of tone, of course, coming from that Cadillac. Yeah, Chip Ganassi knows how to win around Daytona, so definitely not a car to snuff out. Starting from the second row and the leader of the gang of Cadillacs here. Definitely keep an eye on that yellow O1 machine. Moving on to the number two, we got Earl Bamber, Alex Lynn, and Richard Westbrook. Excuse me. They're looking, Bamber, Lynn, and Westbrook looking for their first overall Rolex win. And Westbrook, he's got a GTLE Le Mans class win, co-driving a Ganassi 4 GT, and that was back in 2018. Another interesting thing about that blue Cadillac is that car is going to be heading over to World Endurance Championship along with the Porsches to really kick off the hypercar era. The first homologation of American prototype in quite some time. So that field is finally really starting to get a lot of cars in it, and we'll see if they can really get Toyota over there sweating. Of course, that team is a championship-winning team. I'm sure we'll talk about them in some other videos when we go more in depth about the World Endurance Championship. But it is worth noting on that is that they haven't had as many competitors, but still, I mean, it's such a dominant vehicle over there. Still Cadillac heading over there, waving the American flag. Excited to see that happen. But for right now, let's stay focused on the Rolex and the 24-hour race that's in front of this Chip Ganassi team. So talking specifically about the car, from the sessions I was able to watch, the Cadillac, it seemed to have a little more understeer with these new tires and kind of bounce around a little bit going into an apex, starting off its stint. So a little more understeer, notably into the International Horseshoe. I did see the car's front end bounce around, and I did see it take a wider line than, let's say, the Acura or the Porsche. So something to look at. Might have something to do with the bigger motor, maybe a little more weight, maybe a little higher in the car itself, center of gravity, right? I'm sure some engineers, if they hear this, are laughing at me. No, it's not. Right? But hey, that is what I saw. I saw a little bit more understeer. But of course, when the car turned its tires on, it was steaming. It was steaming along. Again, something to look out for, maybe in terms of ultimate pace, but this isn't a race about ultimate pace. So that is something I did see when it came to the Cadillacs. And finally, last but certainly not least, we got Team Rahal Letterman Lanigan in the BMW M Hybrid V8. These cars, spoke to be a little, again, on the back foot. They haven't had quite as much time testing as much as, let's say, Acura or especially Porsche, Penske, and even Cadillac with all their experience in this race and in DPI and just in North American prototype racing in general. So this is a brand new effort from BMW. So let's not beat them up so hard. Of course not for this ultimate pace. You have to note, even though they're at the back of the starting field, that all these cars are within a second of each other. So let's just say that is a huge win. You have to note that BMW was in Formula One in the 2000s. BMW has also made Le Mans prototypes in the 2000s, winning prototypes. So it's not like they completely don't know what they're doing here. But, I want to note on this team the absolute synergy Okay, the synergy of BMW creating a prototype here and then at the same time promoting within young GT drivers up to driving the high level prototype. So I see, you know, again, this synergy of young driving up the ladder, right? You know, exploring and diving deep into their talents while BMW's looking back on their own pedigree with this brand new prototype effort and coupling it together. I just see it growing and growing and growing. So a lot of cool youthful energy with the strong-handed experience of Rahal Letterman Lanigan. Also, when talking about these cars, we got to talk about Colton Herta, young up-and-coming, super fast kid in IndyCar. Multiple wins, tipped to be a possible IndyCar champion. He's going to be driving both the cars, pulling double duty, you know, in this race. So definitely a lot of exciting stuff happening in the BMW camp, and excited to see how they get along in this race. And noting specifically on the car, from what I saw, super stable. The car looks like a joy to drive. May not have that ultimate pace of the Acura or even the pace of the Porsche, but it didn't look like it complained at all. It looked like a super awesome race car to drive, and that's what you're looking for in a 24-hour race. So hey, we might have an underdog story here in terms of the full length of this race. So look for this team to possibly make moves, and it would just be positive in and of itself for them to gain positions and to finish this race. So definitely an exciting team to look for and keep an eye on in this Daytona 24-hour. Okay, this is where I'm going to end this video. I'm going to go through the LMP2, LMP3, and GTD video in a part 2. I want to keep this video under 30 minutes. So definitely tune into the channel and keep an eye out for part 2, where I go through the rest of the grid and my insights. I will be a little more brief when it comes to my insights. I won't be going through every team as specifically as I did with GTP, but I will give all those notable things that I believe, you know, at least for me, is something to look out for. So if you like this video, smash the like. Please subscribe to the channel. It is brand new, and I'm super looking forward to creating more motorsport content in the future. So in ending, this is Connor Chapman, and you just got the Racer's Insight.